word to wise. Grass only greener when it's fertilized. Gave them truth in these songs, they prefer to lies. Destiny beautiful, adrift in her purple lies. You can't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
What's up, everybody? It's time for another round of Keeping It Plus Ultra with Blerd Without Fear. But this time, we're keeping it Plus Ultra, not just with Blerd Without Fear. We're keeping it Plus Ultra with the homie Carter Prime.
Yes, sir. He kept the prime, man. I'm great.
Hey, look. I'm gonna call you by. I'm calling you by your government name. That's your government name, Carter Prime.
The Council of Carters has infiltrated Spotify. It's too fucking green up here. It's way too fucking green in here. Jesus Christ.
Look, you got music just everywhere playing, just playlists, mad playlists everywhere. Shit's out of control. I don't appreciate it.
And with this particular variant of Carter Prime, does not like paying for shit. So we use Spotify free with all the ads.
Look, you don't get to pick. You don't get to click on the individual song. You gotta listen to a playlist.
That's why you make your own playlist with the songs you want.
That's true. That's very wise of you. So what we're doing here today, we're actually doing this to talk about this week. Two of the new comics that just came out was from the Milestone Media camp, and that is Static Season 1 Number 2 and Icon and Rocket Season 1 Number 1. The Static, if I'm not mistaken, this is by the creative team of Vita Ayala and Chris Cross, who is doing the layouts with I believe it's Nicholas Draper Ivy. All over the place. They're just handling business. Icon and Rocket Season 1 Number 1, that is going to be from the homie Reggie Hudlin and Dennis Braithwaite. If I'm not mistaken.
Doug Braithwaite.
Oh, Doug Braithwaite. Why did I say Dennis? Good Lord. Anyway.
He might be a menace. I don't know. It's also got the 80s and 90s heartthrob Leon. I'm just kidding. Leon Cheers is also on this. So know who Leon is except us.
Look, you know you're a motherfucker when you just go by the name Leon. Like, you ain't Leon so-and-so, so-and-so. You're not so-and-so Leon. You just Leon.
And you are always the bad guy in every fucking thing. You always the evil nigga.
Look, you always fucking something up. Like that I'll tell you something about yourself. But no, we're gonna be talking about this. Now full disclosure. Full disclosure here. Generally for those who aren't familiar with Milestone, these comics, which originally were coming out back in 1993. A lot of them, in the case of, at least with the case of Static, there's a lot of deviation from the original storyline. The way everything is kind of playing out is a little bit different. With Icon and Rocket, it's almost kind of the reverse of that, with this very little deviation. But anyways, let's talk about it. Let's go ahead and talk about Icon and Rocket first. So the premise for Icon and Rocket, for those who don't know, the character Icon is an alien. I believe he's from the Terminus system, though I might be thinking about Mass Effect, but I could be wrong. It's not that big a deal. But in this comic, they don't really tell you exactly where it is he's coming from. They don't even really tell you what alien race he is. But he comes from this race of aliens, and they are kind of I don't want to say like a totalitarian, more like an authoritarian society, and he's transporting a terrorist. Actually, he's transporting a lot of other criminals, it seems like. And one of them breaks out, destroys the ship, and causes his ship to crash, and he's able to escape. He, in this space pod, crash lands in 1843 Georgia, which, if you're keeping score, slavery is still a thing.
I was not expecting that at all. Because I guess we should preface this by saying that when it comes to Milestone Media, the only person in this 2-man power trip that is called Keeping It Plus Ultra right now, the only person who knows about Milestone is Ernie. I know Static. That's it. So this is all new territory to me, and I didn't expect a almost Superman-esque intro for the boy, but it wasn't at the same. It was, but it wasn't.
It's kind of sort of, but not really, because he does crash land on Earth. He is in the form of a child, even though this was a that's wild when you think about it. Now, for Claro, this is the same origin he had in the original comics, so they didn't deviate. The only difference between the 93 Icon #1 and Icon and Rocket Season 1 #1 is that the year that he falls to Earth is several years earlier, and they don't tell you exactly where he landed. But everything else, as far as like the woman slave who finds his ship, she touches the ship, all that stays the same. The whole recreating her DNA to make Icon into a baby that like would resemble her. All of that is the same. All of that is the same. Now. Oh no!
First question I have, just
go ahead.
With everything you just said just then, does that mean that he could, even though he turned into the form of a baby, could he not go back into that adult form that he was previously, or would he have to actually grow up?
I think he would actually have to grow up.
Jesus. So,
but the thing is, he was already pretty long-lived anyway.
Okay.
He was already pretty long-lived anyway. I don't remember it's been so long since I've read the original Icon comics. Even when I did a video about the character, I was more skimming the comics, not so much directly reading them. But even going back as far as that, I don't remember there being any real answer as to whether or not he could have turned back. And honestly, I think if he could, he probably would have. But but the whole premise of the idea of him is that, so when he is in that pod, what it did was it basically gave him the Captain America treatment. So even though he's been transformed genetically from his original alien race into a human, he is at the peak of what humans can potentially be.
Okay.
Now, in Icon's case, it's a little more unrealistic. Like, it's not like with Cap, where it's like, oh, yeah, he can outrun a Jeep Wrangler or whatever. He can pull a helicopter down. Icon is, for all intents and purposes, he's as strong as Superman.
Okay.
In the old comics, when they had fought each other, even Superman was like, yeah, I've almost never had anyone hit me as hard as you've hit me. Dude, he there was a point, I think they actually had it. It was the Shadow Cabinet versus the Justice League. Dwayne McDuffie, one of the last things he wrote for DC, as a matter of fact, when Milestone and DC had crossed over into each other. Yeah. And yeah, dude, he put hands on Superman. And he even did it in the comics back when Superman had the mullet. He wore that Superman, they went toe to toe. But the whole thing about Icon is the fact that, this is a guy who literally grew up during slavery. Yeah. And basically just kind of came up, he basically through, I guess, a combination of developing wealth and carried it over multiple generations, masquerading as himself, but as a descendant of a previous version of himself. This dude amassed money, and dude's just rich. And he's a lawyer. And the thing that was, we don't know if this is the case in the new comics, but the whole thing that was not the selling point, but the part that was supposed to make black audiences go, but wait a minute, he's a conservative. But he was a conservative, in the way that black Republicans in the 90s were conservative. Not necessarily the way they are now. He's not Candace Owens. Yeah.
And you know what? It's funny you actually said that. If you want to go back to just this new season of Icon and Rocket, I did think that was funny that he crash lands in 1843 Georgia while two slaves or should I say 1.5, because Sister Girl don't know if she's trying to go nowhere right now. We are they're in the middle of trying to escape. We have the male slave who's basically saying, see, all we got to do is follow the North Star and we can make it to but you bringing up Candace Owens was pretty funny because, you know, while he is ready to go, she doesn't know if she really wants to go through with it, since we got some Candace Owens that live 2 doors over.
Let's go snitch.
The tattle is, as she put it, it's them tattletales 2 doors over. So we have folks owning in the Milestone universe, even in slavery times.
Mm-hmm. Well, the funny thing is that and I guess we got to transition over to the other character. This is Rocket.
Yeah.
And when these comics were originally written, Dwayne McDuffie, he's an outspoken liberal. Outspoken liberal. He doesn't have a conservative bone in his body. But he wrote Icon to be conservative. So whenever Icon was speaking, it wasn't really Dwayne McDuffie, like talking to you. However, when Rocket was talking, she was the one who was the voice of the writer. And back in the day, Rocket used to clown Icon. For a girl that didn't have no powers, she would talk greasy as hell to Icon. But another thing that didn't really change is how Rocket is introduced to Icon. Whereas in the original 93 series, she's running with a bad crowd and they break into Icon's home to steal some stuff. And she's just kind of along for the ride. Like, she's not really she's dating one of the guys, basically. And no, that's the funny part. So, in the original comics, he did. Because she ends up pregnant.
Oh, wow.
They actually have they actually tackle actually, I think it's God, I can't remember which issue it was, but there's an issue where she's literally looking at a pregnancy test, like on the front cover, and she actually does have the baby, goes through with the baby, everything. She becomes like a part-time superhero sidekick, whatever, and still working as a mom and doing everything else. I don't know if they're going to tackle that in this series. Because they make it very obvious dude did not hit in the new Junt.
I mean, that was a line that actually surprised me, because I was going to ask you, is this DC Black Label? Because this brother clearly just said that he got plenty of side hoes if he don't smash Rocket.
Dude, right? I was kind of like, hold on, pimp. You talking kind of crazy.
Like,
but no,
we're not embellishing when we say that. He actually does say, like, because one of his boys kind of clowned him, asked him when he was gonna smash, and his response was, "Nah, she's a good girl. And, you can't rush things like that. But I got plenty of side holes for that anyway."
Right? No, that is not an exaggeration. That's literally verbatim what he says. And the whole thing with Rocket is that, like, you're supposed to look at her as though she's the black girl that came up in a bad neighborhood under bad circumstances, runs with a bad crowd, but she's not like everyone else. Like, they want you to know and understand that she's smarter and wiser than everyone else around her. Like, she perceives things better than other people. And they don't really go into it in this comic like they do in the original. The original 93 comic, when the whole break-in happens, and Icon, like, he's like, hey, y'all in my shit. Y'all need to get the fuck out. Yeah. Everything in that arena is the same. Him confronting them, her coming back, like after her realizing what he is, that he's an alien, that and understanding the kind of power he commands, and her coming back and saying, no, you need to be using this power to help people. All that shit's the same. All of it's the same. Verbatim. I think the only thing that doesn't really switch up is that he speaks more to her in their encounter in the new book versus just speaking to them in general in the original Jump. And she's already got, he's already hooked her up with powers by the end of the first issue in the original Jump. This one, you can tell they're just now kind of forming that relationship. But yeah, what did you think of Rocket? On the whole, that whole how they encountered each other.
So the encounter was interesting to me, just because from what you're reading, she's obviously the brains of the operation. She's the one that breaks into the house. She's the one that signals them to get in. But she's a terrible lookout because everybody thought that nobody was in the house and it was empty until that boy came out with them abs and scared the shit out of everybody.
That dude did not have a dad bod. He was not rocking a dad bod at all.
At all. That boy came out looking like a light-skinned brother in a Tyler Perry movie. So the interaction that happened between Icon with all these people that breaking into his home, he was very, very relaxed, which was kind of funny to me when I was reading it. It was basically, he was just kind of like man, it was the most polite, you don't want this smoke. Just you know what, I don't even want to say that. It was more so, get on somewhere, please. That's really what it was. It was, because I think he starts dogging out Rocket's boyfriend, and the boyfriend is the one that has the pistol on him. You know what I'm saying? So, and he flat out tells him, you are not in control of this situation. You not even in control of what's going to happen in this room. Which that line in and of itself just kind of made me just kind of okay, so he is not minding at all beating the brakes off these children. Okay. Because again, this is my first introduction to this character, and then he gets shot, and then he sits up like the Undertaker, and then proceeds to just hit him with that Monty Brown. That he just hits him with the pounce real quick before they can even get out the house. That particular scene was almost like a horror movie when I was reading it. Just with him just grabbing everybody. So that interaction was really interesting. And I was on board with Rocket until she came back to the house. Because I'm listening to you when you say that she used to talk greasy to Icon, and she's almost doing it in a sense in this issue. But the problem with me was, bitch, I don't know you. Who the fuck are you? Because what ends up happening is she basically goes back to the house after he lets everyone go, after they promise not to say anything about him having abilities. She goes back to the house and basically says, hey, you got these powers. You should be a superhero. And bitch, get off my porch. Is just you have some nerve after breaking into my shit to demand anything. And that's when I kind of started to dislike her a tiny bit. But at the same time, this is where this issue started to turn for me. And I didn't like it. But the reason that I didn't like the issue was because of Icon. Because you have Rocket explaining why he should be more of a active person with everything going on. She's bringing up how people are selling drugs on MLK Boulevard and shit like that, and how if you were out there, doing to these fools that broke into your house and me what you doing to them, it would stop everyone from doing the things that they're doing. And this is the reason I didn't like the issue, because let me go back. I like the issue, but this is where I started to turn on it a little bit for one reason. Everything that Icon said to her about why he didn't want to do it, Mm-hmm. I agree with. The way he felt, when it comes to doing certain things, I completely agreed with him, and it hit it, and I'm just like, holy shit!
It made you think about some shit.
It really did. It really made me think about some things and how it's like, damn. Like when you see how you feel on paper, and it's just like, holy shit.
Well, yeah, you got a mirror held up to you, and
exactly.
Yeah. Well, and I will say this. Okay, so I said earlier in the 90s, the original version, he was a conservative. I kind of think this was Reggie Hudlin's way of putting him in that mindset without like clowning it up, like making it like making him a comical Republican, like his views are so conservative because honestly that was kind of his mentality back then, is that like and this is something that's like way deeper off of the comics, but there was a thing that was going on where they were basically the government in Dakota, which is the city all this shit takes place in. They were trying to gentrify this area and basically putting people out of their homes to build like some new fancy park. And Rocket was on the side of the people who were fighting for their homes. And Icon was just kind of like, well, I don't see the point in all this. He like, this park could be, something that could be for the betterment of these people. And it's not like they're not going to get money to be moved out of their home, so and so and so and so forth, yada, yada, yada. But what this was all a commentary on was, like kind of like what we talked about. Remember we talked about X-Men, ways back when that first Jerry Duggan X-Men came out, and they were talking about where the X-Men built their home, which used to be, I think it was Seneca Village.
Yeah.
And the whole history behind how Central Park used to be an affluent black, and not just black, but almost kind of like black and brown and other minorities and immigrants neighborhood. And these people basically got ran out of their homes and paid pennies compared to what they probably should have gotten for their land, and got shoved along so we could build Central Park. This was all a commentary on that. And Icon just had this very like, whatever. And Rocket was always, and this is actually a line from the comics, Rocket actually like would tell him like, you're supposed to be out here helping black people, but oh yeah, I forgot, you're not really black. Like she would hit him with that sauce. Like she would hit him with that sauce, and Icon would literally be sitting here like, God damn.
See, and it seems like it's completely different here, because his whole thing of, because she brings up the drug dealers on Martin Luther King Boulevard. You could be a superhero like he was. And the response is, I could get rid of them, but the next day, the ones I got rid of are just going to be replaced again. So it's a revolving door. So what the fuck is the point of me doing it? The way he says it, which I think it was fine. It was the economic imperative will ensure there's always someone there selling drugs as an escape from poverty and despair.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to always be there and using out. But why the fuck do I need to leave my big ass house to go stop that? If there's always going to be a group of niggas that's right there. Like,
he was almost just short of that, like Dave Chappelle. He's like got all Oprah's money. He said he was kind of clutching his money, got his crown on. He was almost just shy of that. He's like, I ain't coming out this motherfucker. I got money. But
you have someone saying that shit to you. That not 24 hours prior just broke into your fucking house.
Broke into your shit. That's the thing that messes it up. That's the thing that kind of messes it up. And the fact that they made Rocket more of an active participant in the breaking at home, because originally she wasn't. She actually was just supposed to be a lookout. She wasn't the mastermind behind breaking into Icon's home.
Okay.
But the thing that I thought was really cool, did you catch that Highlander moment?
No.
Towards the end, when they're having that conversation, when he's finally making a choice, whether or not he wants to help her.
And you go back to Paris.
Yeah, if you look at the woman, it's a Highlander moment straight up. Because like literally, it's one of the things like you watch like old Highlander.
Yeah, I got you now.
Yeah,
Okay.
They always know someone in the present that looks just like a motherfucker they used to fuck with back in the past, and then you can tell he's like, oh, you look like an old girl I used to fuck with. God damn.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, yeah, I totally am with you though. There's definitely some things where Reggie Hudlin basically push you, the reader, in a predicament where you actually have to ask real questions about the people who you're following. Yeah. Like you have to question the people, which I don't have a problem with. It just, but sometimes it's one of those things where like, man, you ain't making no good points. Oh man, but dude over here, he got a point, but man, it's a fucked up.
Like, if I do these impossible things, how do I inspire people? Don't they just end up taking what I do for granted and then complain about what I don't do?
Right.
Like, I felt that in my core.
Well, and I think, and honestly, I think anyone can get behind that because that is what you know is going to happen. And I guess it's kind of like, well, before I don't want, it was a perfect segue, but I don't want to fuck it up, but I do want to, we got to go ahead and ask a question. Overall though, like being a person who is not familiar with Icon or Rocket, like how did you feel like by the time you were all said and done with it, like what, how do you feel about these characters?
So I like both characters. I started to lean more toward, well, we can get to their actual names. You got Raquel Irvin and Augustus. And I was more so leaning with Augustus, even though the flashback to Paris in 1921. It was like, okay, fuck it, let's just do it. Let's see what happens. Mm-hmm. Just giving the young woman a chance because he told her when she was in the middle of breaking into the house that like it's clear you shouldn't be with niggas like this. You shouldn't be with these people. Be smarter. And
you dating beneath your station.
Pretty much. So when it comes to both characters, I like them both. I'm leaning more toward Icon, which says a lot about me. I think I may be turning into a Republican, but
this man could be coming out here with dry hair, look like Candace Owens out here, or no, it was a sleepy Ben Carson. Lord,
I thought from this first issue, I need to see a lot more from Rocket and Icon, but I need to see a lot more from Rocket.
Yeah, I think you will because the series is kind of, it's kind of like originally the series was just called Icon. There was no Icon in Rocket. It was just Icon.
Yeah.
Rocket just happened to be there.
Okay.
But like when you get into this series, they're making it more of a collaborative. Like a collaborative deal. So I mean, but the thing that's funny though, like it just before we jump into the so here's the thing. I actually pulled this up because I always find this interesting. So like I was telling you, this motherfucker has like literally the exact same powers as Superman. Mm-hmm. So not only like we haven't even seen everything this dude can do, but like he has a crap ton of powers. Like dude like just stayed having, like he didn't just have the eye lasers, super strength, fly, and all this other stuff. This dude literally was shooting like ion beams out of his damn hands and shit. Yeah,
it looks like force fields. It looks like he's about to blast somebody at the end of the first issue.
Yeah, no, he was about to hit that motherfucker with some stank. But apparently I in the conversation I did have with Reggie Hudlin, they said they're gonna give this fool even more powers. Like this fool he's gonna keep developing new abilities. They like the original comics didn't focus on his past during slavery. They don't really go back to it very often, if ever. But they said this one they are actually going to be going back and forth actively between the past and the present so that you get a better understanding of why Icon is the way he is, why he's doing the things that he's doing, and the influences on his decisions by the time that Raquel finally meets up with him, and then going forward after that. And then, of course, Raquel is also probably going to get some other abilities as well, because her whole thing was like, force fields and kinetic energy and wearing that 90s jacket that everybody had with the Gambit mask that everybody had. remember back in the 90s, that was the drip. Like if you had that brown ass, ugly ass starter jacket, and you had to have the Gambit mask, the mask that you got room for your hair to come out, but you ain't covering your face. It's like you basically wearing one of them ski like what was it, the balaclavas or whatever the fuck it is.
It's a ball of drip.
Oh, look, face just out. Yeah. Like neck, your sideburns and your ears is covered, but ain't nothing else covered. Face just out here. Speaking of face just out here,
yeah.
What did you think about Static? Static number 2.
Terrible segue, but you just tried.
I don't know well, because he just out here, dude. He wearing a mask. He just out here. Face just out here.
The second issue was really good. It made Hot Streak look so
like some ass.
He is so trash because just from that first issue, it looks like if Virgil don't break him something off something proper in this second issue, I'm going to be upset. And then you find out he didn't really burn a whole lot of shit in that house but the windows.
Look, not only that, he burned himself out doing it.
That's what I'm saying.
Like he legit burned himself out doing what he did. It didn't even do that much.
Like, how the fuck you just made all of your white brethren look terrible just now? You proceed to attempt a hate crime on the black people's house and only fuck up every window and a little bit of paint. You are terrible to the Caucasian conglomerate. They're going to take your powers back. They're going to hit your ass with other tear gas.
They're going to trade you to China.
Oh my God.
They're going to trade you to China. They just say, no, get us a real one. We want Sunfire. We want Sunfire. That's who we want.
I really enjoyed this second issue. One thing I was going to ask you, who the fuck is this Daisy that's that first page?
Okay, so all right, so Daisy is the girl from the original series. Now, for those who are not familiar, I believe her last is Daisy Watkins. This was the girl who, remember how Virgil was always about Frida. Mm-hmm. He was always about Frida. He was like, "Oh no, Frida, that's my boo thing. That's the girl I got to get." Yeah. Well, Daisy was the black girl he actually got with before he ever got with Frida.
Okay.
So there was a cover. I think it was. Oh man, I'm probably fucking up the number. It might have been Static number 17 or 18, something like that. Yeah. It was a controversial cover because it was the cover for the comic where Virgil and Daisy were trying to smash. Mm-hmm. And on the cover, it showed Virgil and Daisy on the couch making out, and there was like a condom, like a condom package that he had off to the side, and like you could tell they was probably listening to some Babyface or some motherfucking Kevin Campbell.
I wanna do all of the things your man won't do. I hope it was a Trojan on that couch. I hope it was at least a maggot. I hope Virgil didn't go to one. I hope he didn't go to his boy Darius or his former boy Darius in the second issue. And I hope Darius gave him a Trojan, because if he was on that couch with that girl and she saw a Durex, she was walking out the house.
She was like, "Nah, I can't fuck with you like this."
Nah.
Look, she's like, she gonna cut the Keith, literally the Keith Sweat music getting turned off. She like, Keith Sweat be baby, like click. No more. Nope. The Sweat Hotel is over. Get out. But no, basically Daisy in the original comics, I don't remember Daisy ever getting powers. Not to my knowledge. I don't remember it, but apparently in this series, she does. But Daisy was basically Virgil's first like legit girlfriend in the comics, and then eventually she moved away. Like, or not away. She moved across town, so it became harder for them to see each other. But it didn't matter because eventually Virgil got with Frida in the end. But yeah, so let me ask you this. How when you got to the part where Virgil is hitting up Curtis Metcalf, who, for those who don't know, that is another superhero by the name of Hardware.
Okay, I was going to ask you, was that Hardware? Because that's what I was assuming.
Mm-hmm, yeah, that was Hardware, whose comic I think comes out next month. But Hardware is the cat who was the original kickoff for Milestone back in the 90s. His comic came out first. And then Static and Icon, Blood Syndicate, all the shit came out after that. Yeah. Curtis... I kind of fucked with the energy Curtis came with when Virgil called his ass up. He was just like,
what do you want? Who is you on my line right now, dog?
He's like, who is you? Like, he literally was like, huh?
It seems like first I thought it was a teacher of his, and then I'm like, damn, you caught this teacher in a bad time. And then I started kind of putting two and two together. But I'm assuming that the stuff that's going to happen in Hardware proper is already happening. Yeah.
Basically, everything with Icon and Rocket and everything happening. Like, so basically, by the time you get to Static number 2, Icon and Rocket, they're already fighting crime across town.
That's another thing I was going to bring up, because I didn't realize that until one of my favorite parts of this issue actually happened, was that argument between Virgil's parents.
Right, yeah. See, okay, so...
Like, you want him, look at how Icon is getting done. I'm like, wait, when does this shit take place?
Mm-hmm. So basically, Icon and Rocket, even though like we just talked about the comic, like Rocket and Icon are just now meeting each other, in this series, they've already been out doing their thing. Because I don't know if they're going to go this route with Icon and Rocket, but in the second issue of the original series, they were fighting whole ass corrupt police officers. They had like a corrupt police SWAT force that they went up against. And they were fighting against the Dakota government. Because they were out here trying to cover up that they were the ones behind the quantum juice that was in that tear gas that killed a lot of people and gave other folks powers. Well, in the rework of this, Curtis Metcalf is being accused of being behind it by his boss, who is also a corrupt villain in the original series. But Curtis, he's basically Iron Man. That's basically his whole thing. He's basically Black Iron Man. But the funny thing is, and I know a lot of people are probably not going to know this, I don't expect them to know this, and they'll probably be like, oh, he's just copying what Iron Man's doing now. Actually, the funny thing about not Icon, but Hardware, is that Hardware was doing stuff with his suit back in the 90s that Iron Man didn't do until like 10 years later. Which is just crazy. It's crazy. Like the whole having the suit that could just appear on your body. Oh, okay. He was doing that first. He did that first. But the fact that like in this universe, Hardware is the one who's kind of like on the slick, mentoring Static, getting him ready. Like he's like, hey man, go to this little drop place I got over here, man. You can pick up some shit. Storage unit. Right. He's like, yeah, this fool literally got all kind of, I didn't even get a chance to I didn't take the time to really look into everything that he had in there, but like there was some stuff. He had some, I want to say, and I could be wrong, I might be talking out of my ass when I say this, but I want to say there was a suit that he had in there that was maybe an homage to the character Technique. Okay, because I'm looking at it now, and it was two different suits and some goggles. Yeah, the suit that I think was a throwback to Technique. Technique was a character who, in a lot of ways, I'm almost 1,000,000% positive. Ironheart was an homage to that character, because Brian Michael Bendis has basically, like, a lot of people don't catch this, but Brian Michael Bendis basically kind of slick homaged Dwayne McDuffie with almost every character he made since he was at Marvel. Because you think about it, Miles Morales, he's basically static.
Yeah.
He's basically static, straight up and down.
Yeah,
There's no getting around.
You said that on the cave a few times.
There were other characters he's created that are very similar. Ironheart is, in a lot of ways, I think she even kind of slick has a little bit of the origin story that Technique has, like the fact that she basically stole the technology that she needed to copy the other characters. To copy another character's suit and its capabilities, very similar. And then you also look at the fact that it made even more clear to me what Brian Michael Bendis was doing back then when he made the character Naomi and then gave her the last name McDuffie. I was like, this motherfucker was reading Milestone back in the day. Get out of my face. Get out of my face with that shit. Look, that white man was going to the comic book shop every Wednesday saying, y'all got any more of that hardware? But all that aside, with Static, the conversation that his parents are having, I thought was very interesting because the dynamic between his parents was never that tense, at least not in the original comics. The parents kind of seem to be on the same page a lot of the times. Like whenever Virgil was fucking up or something bad happened, they almost were always kind of like, they were damn near the Cosbys. It was like you took the Cosbys, but they were poor. Like,
so what you're saying is Virgil dad done cheated at some point.
Probably. Well, he probably got his penis wet somewhere else at least once. But but like whenever they had an issue, like the mom and dad were almost always a united front, and the sister was always kind of the one that was like fucking with Virgil. Like she was always giving that motherfucker a hard time. But in this, the whole dynamic is different because the parents know what's going on with him. The sister knows what's going on with him. In the comics, they didn't really know.
Okay.
But like in this, like everybody knows. And I love how in this dynamic, the sister is the one who's protective of him.
She's the one that like, y'all really finna do this shit right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's like really in front of him.
House just got fucking charbroiled Burger King style. Like, I did like the fact that Virgil's dad tried to end the conversation. Just know he's not getting taken to a doctor at a hospital or anything like that. We already did that. That's final. And in true sister black woman fashion, no, nigga. When I saw that, when I read that, Sharon, Virgil, if you'll excuse us, I knew Virgil daddy was about to get that work.
Oh yeah. Oh, he was about to get called a whole fool.
You're not going to tell a black woman that's final.
Oh hell no. Well, also
not about her baby. No.
Well, no, and I love the fact too that what was it? Where he was trying to talk about the hospitals, the doctors, and she was like, "You gonna sit here and for real act like I'm not a whole ass black woman? Like I don't know." She was like, "I'm both black and a woman. You gonna sit here and act like I don't know that hospitals be trying to fuck over black people?" I was like I like this is the thing. And this is a credit to Vita Ayala. They are like, they brought a sense of like, okay, so in some of the other books that they have written, they don't always get to showcase what a black family is like, because typically a lot of the books that they write usually have either an incredibly diverse cast or with the exception of Children of the Atom. Children of the Atom, they kind of get to play around with this dynamic a little bit. But like, you're not going to see this dynamic in New Mutants. You're not going to see this dynamic in Morbius, which they don't write Morbius anymore, but they used to. But I love that Vita brought this I've been in this conversation. I've witnessed this conversation happen before. You know, like and I love the fact that like the mom, she's trying to protect her baby. But she's not trying to protect him by keeping him not so much hidden away, but she wants the doctors to get to the bottom of what's going on. But you can tell by the time you get to end that conversation with the dad, you kind of get the impression, Nah, he want this motherfucker to use these powers to come up.
Yeah.
Because that was the first thing when in the first issue, Virgil's dad was like, no, you gonna learn how to throw these hands. Or not the first issue, it was Milestone Returns, the Zero issue. But he was like, no, I'm gonna teach you how to throw some hands.
He said something. He said he could use these powers to finally be more. And then, because I know one thing he was saying was, you see how people talk about Icon. It's not safe to be out there like that. But you do something. I really did like that. I liked both different perspectives. So that was one reason I really did enjoy that fight, because when you're a united front, you're a united front, and there's only one opinion that everyone just goes for. With this one, we have two different perspectives that you could really see why both people have the reasons that they have. So that was one thing that I did really, that fight was probably my favorite part of this issue.
Yeah. Oh no, definitely. Now that aside from that one, the other thing that's kind of a new element in this comic is Darius. Darius technically existed in the original comics, but just he wasn't the exact same character he is in this. Like, he's a journalist now in this. Like, he's trying to be like one of those internet journalists.
So if anything, that little nigga seemed like he was trying to be a fake ass TMZ, really.
Kinda, but the thing is, he has good intentions. Like, he has very good intentions. Like, in this, they kind of made it seem less so. But in, like, the Milestone Return Zero issue, Stag number 1, you can tell he's trying to make people understand that the government is hiding something, that they're trying to affect the narrative in a way to get people to not take this shit as seriously as what they probably need to, or to get them to take it more seriously than they should. But I love the fact that this kid is getting roped into what is ultimately probably going to become a confrontation with one of Static's greatest villains, and that's Holocaust, who is basically Hot Streak, but better.
Okay.
Like where Hot Streak is one of those characters that, like, yeah, he's kind of Virgil's arch nemesis, but only in the sense that, like, because he was the first person who really fucked with Virgil. In this, and how it was originally, Holocaust was the one that got in Static's head. Like, in the original comics, Holocaust had Static's head gassed up, had that motherfucker's nose wide open, had this dude literally damn near close to becoming a whole ass supervillain.
Damn, sure enough did him like that, because that was the first thing popped in my head when I saw him. Like a cut show enough.
Well, no, that's the thing. That's kind of how he looked in the original comics too. Like you see a motherfucker pull up, you expect a motherfucker had a goddamn kimono on and be like, "Am I the meanest?" Look, or wait, am I the hottest? Am I the smokiest? But no, but I love how in this they're actually kind of giving, I don't want to say they're giving Holocaust the Killmonger treatment.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the impression I got, was like, the way Vita's going to end up writing him is that he's going to be one of those villains that you might agree with, because he's kind of going to be spitting some serious game that isn't exactly untrue. Because the whole idea, what they're kind of setting up, is that Holocaust is trying to warn people that the government is going to be coming after them, and then what happens? Government comes after them. That the government's going to try and cover all the shit up, that they're basically killing black and brown people, this, that, and the third. They're like, this is the only reason they're coming after people with powers. That's kind of the idea that Holocaust is putting out there. And
this issue is just because it's just that, he can't fully be trusted, because when the Bang Baby was getting interviewed by Darius, he was basically saying that Holocaust was telling us the power we had and how people would finally have to listen to us to respect us. He's not all the way on the up and up, because one of the main people you see listening to Holocaust was Hot Streak. So he can't be all the way on the up and up if that fool is right there. So.
Oh God, no. No, not even close. Not even close. Well, and the kid even said when the government showed up, he dipped. When shit started going down, he dipped and left everybody to fucking die. That was like, yeah, man, I'm out of here, pimp. That man hit him with what was the dude used to be all over Vine? What was it, Niles? Mother, he hit you with and mother would just fade away. That's what they hit that motherfucker with. And that's honestly, that's no different from the original comics. Holocaust is a piece of shit. You're not supposed to like him. He's a villain through and through. Like heck, he even became a Teen Titans villain for like a New York minute. When DC and Milestone officially merged their universes together or whatever, but and not only that, you're a motherfucker when you get another superhero addicted to crack. That was another one of his shining achievements. What? Yeah. So the Blood Syndicate, which is where Holocaust comes from, in that comic, he was the one who got one of the main characters on there addicted to crack because she was trying to cope with it was one of the characters. She had the ability to travel back in time by 3 seconds, and what happened was she watched the whole Blood Syndicate get broke off. Everybody got blown up. Motherfuckers was blown up in half, burnt up and crispy, dead in the motherfucker, and she had to go back in time several times to save everybody. And every time she went back, she remembered everything that happened. She remembered what happened to her getting burnt up and shit. So it fucked with her mind. And she went, and she was like, she was already kind of dealing with some other issues too. And Holocaust was one that was like, go ahead and smoke this. Take the edge off. And got her addicted to crack. Which Rocket, oddly enough, got her off of.
Wow. Okay.
So like I said, the narratives. This is why I always kind of laugh about people talk about how comics. There was no social political commentary back in the day. I'm like, dude, Milestone was full of it. Milestone had it all over the place. And it has not changed clearly with the return, but yeah, man. But overall, did you dig Static number 2? You say you like that one a lot.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Static. I really enjoyed both comics. Hell, the whole reason. Let me go ahead and tell everyone this who's listening right now. This was very impromptu. I just felt some type of way about that first issue of Icon and Rocket. I said, I got to say something. Yeah, this needs to be put on. You can put this on a podcast or something. I think that's how ours are gonna go now. Ours are just gonna be very impromptu if we done read some shit. I did really enjoy Icon and Rocket. I'm happy that was the first issue that I'm happy that was the first book I read before I read Static. Static. This was another solid issue in that comic. So the sky's the limit for that one. And Icon and Rocket. It got me very interested in wanting to learn more.
Right.
It wasn't your typical, you don't have to worry about something else coming because you already know it's going to go through the same old with Icon and Rocket. And plus, I never read any of the comics back in the day. I don't know where this is. Ain't no telling where this shit finna go, but I'm interested in it. So yeah, I really enjoyed both this week.
Yeah, no, it's honestly, and even like everybody knows Static. Mm-hmm. Like everybody knows Static. Mm-hmm. Just about. Icon and Rocket was one of those properties that, like, if anyone knew who they were that wasn't already reading Milestone, you were probably somebody who watched Young Justice and you saw Icon and Rocket on there and you're like, cool.
Is that Steel? You fucking racist.
Look, Icon didn't even really say a whole lot.
Dad? Is that Static's dad?
Wait. And I love how even on the show they kind of mess with that whole. Wait a minute, are you my?
Wow.
It's like, look, man, let's keep it a billion. No, Black Lightning is not Static's father. Y'all need to stop. Not all. Look, just like how just because every black person in comic books has electrical and lightning powers does not mean they're all related. But anyway, but yeah, y'all know how it is. I enjoyed everything. Of course. It's actually kind of made me go back because I've been going back and rereading the old books too, just to kind of have something to kind of have a frame of reference and really like compare and contrast these things, which I think is really fun to do. And yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for Hardware. I'm ready to see how Hardware plays out. And if Hardware plays out the way I think it's gonna go, I think it's going to wind up being a pretty good comic as well. So, yeah. But anyways, that's the show. That's the tweet, as the kids say. Is that what they say? I don't know. Yeah, man. We out here. Peace.